School board meeting to order of November 4th. Dick, will you call a roll call?
Okay, Jim.
Present.
Dick, here. John.
Here.
Jenny.
Here.
The rest are absent.
Proof of notice.
As listed in the agenda.
Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Jim,
Seconded.
second by Jenny. Any questions on the agenda? Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried 403. Citizens' comments. Resolution 1920-99, approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, special meeting.
I so move.
Motion by Jim,
I'll second.
second by Jim. Any questions on the minutes? Jim? I'm sorry, Jim.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carried 502. Resolution 1920-100, approval of minutes of the October 21st meeting.
So move.
Motion by Jenny,
Second also.
second by Jim. Any questions on those minutes from October 21st? Jenny?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carried 502. Resolution 1920-101, approval of minutes of the October 28th special board meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Dick,
Second.
second by Tatiana. Any questions on those minutes? Dick?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried 502. Okay, we have an FFA report.
Hi, I'm Stacia, I'm the FFA president. This past month in October, we had the Roads Area Expo, National Convention, and then we put up our corn stalks, and then we took them down today. We had our fruit sale, and then upcoming we have our 212-360 Leadership Conference. It's in the Dells on November 15th through 16th. We have a Probably Pro Workshop on November 21st. UW River Falls is coming, and they help us with it. And then our fruit sale forums are June the 13th, and then we deliver our fruit in December. And then I have a fruit sale form if you'd like to order fruit at all. Anyone?
Sure, pass it around, yeah. Thanks.
We want to pass it around. When do they do?
The 13th. of
I
December.
can take it back to Mr.
Okay.
Mark. Right, good.
All right,
That's all I have.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, resolution 1920-102. Approval of regular semi-monthly bills.
So move.
Motion by Jim,
Second.
second by Jenny. Questions on the bills? Hearing none. Jim?
Aye.
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 Motion carried 502. Dick, any communications?
Yes, there are. From Daniel Block. He donated $500 and it went into music activity account, and he got a letter from us thanking him. And to Advanced Disposal, Ron, we had a donation of $3,000, and that's going to be used for environmental education. The letter was sent to them.
All right, thank you. Any committee reports?
We need to meet.
Set up for me, right?
We need to meet. So it looks like for Jenny
Mhm.
that evenings are best
Yeah.
and late, actually too. So what about, depending on if we need, at the next board meeting,
Mhm.
what about having a meeting after the meeting? Like a policy committee meeting immediately following?
That would be on the 18th. That would work for me.
Okay?
Policy would be.
Otherwise, Joe's
Joe
not
and-
here.
Coffee. We've got coffee, no problem. I think that would work out rather
Yeah,
than
that's
having
great.
like a meeting that
Denise
starts
best.
at 8 or something like that. Why not, we're already all here, so, and then we'll just make sure to get the information to you in advance, and we'll try to expedite it. So, okay?
Okay. So
So,
put it on the calendar then for that day, maybe?
right, the only thing is,
Right.
we may need to have a closed session on the next board meeting, again, related to employee compensation to wrap that up. And if we have that, then we could really be extremely late. So typically, without the closed
Then we should
sessions,
order
we'd be
pizza.
done. Yeah. So I just want to put that out there, so kind of housekeeping, maybe save November 18th,
Okay.
but I just want to be a little bit loose on it for the moment. I just want to, after all is done tonight, I think we can make a kind of final decision on that. But I think that might be helpful moving ahead, just look at adding a meeting like that afterwards.
Wasn't there a curriculum meeting that needed to
That's
happen?
the one I'm referring to.
Oh, okay.
On curriculum.
You
Oh,
said
no.
policy.
You
The
said
curriculum, the policy one, the curriculum one, we probably have until the month of December that we
Okay.
can do that. We can,
Who's on the policy? Isn't Joe Holman on the policy?
Yeah.
the policy is Joe, I think it's
No.
Abby,
Abby,
Jenny.
I am.
No, it's not maybe it's Tatiana.
No,
She's on the
Okay.
curriculum.
She's on
Okay.
curriculum.
Actually, I have it.
Policy, Joe
I have it
Nunley.
right in front of me now. Okay. And I don't know if nobody can do a late meeting like that. Oh.
Did-
Okay.
Is Joe ever available during the day or days?
Joe
are
is.
different? So it depends on the day and what my
Okay, maybe what we need to do
work
is,
looks like.
how far in advance do you know your schedule?
It is always changing, but like if I have a week's notice, I
Yeah.
can usually block that out.
Okay. Okay,
That said, there's already quite a few things on the calendar for this
Okay.
month.
maybe
But
what we need to do is,
I want to accommodate Nubby, what he can do too.
so why don't, before you leave tonight, let's just look at your calendar and we'll look at some options.
I'm
Day
gonna,
options,
I'm
too.
gonna have to email you because
Okay.
I don't have my work schedule here.
No problem.
Okay.
So, I think it's tagged, you're it.
Putting
Yeah.
email, star,
And then
okay.
let me know if you need anything from us, but
Okay.
we can, I think I can be pretty flexible overall.
Okay.
But I don't have a problem doing the late night. It would just be, hey, if we could condense them, that'd be good too.
Mhm,
So,
Okay.
okay, so stay tuned. The curriculum one, we have some time for. So we'll start, we will definitely need to meet though in December. And actually, we need to do some work in advance before that too. We're talking about 6/12 elective opportunities, and that work needs to happen before we have our curriculum committee meeting. So, all right, so there are no committee reports.
Okay, you go right into your administrative report then.
Okay. Last week, some board members and I, there were 3 board members, and I went to the WSB workshop down in Milwaukee, so appreciated the time. I thought the information was timely. It was a budget update reflecting what's happened in the state of Wisconsin for the 2019-20 budget, with some projections forecasting how it's going to impact us in 2021. I would say that was the biggest piece. Also talked about the different state statutes that are currently being looked at for updates in the state of Wisconsin. That was the gist of it. But I can definitely take my notes and share them with the board too.
The first part that Dick and I went to was teacher retention and teacher, just trying to get, the pot is dwindling. And less and less people are going into education, and just how difficult it is to get recruits and,
To get the school to recruit, do more recruiting.
yeah. So you have to come up with different ideas on how to recruit teachers.
And that leads to the next part. So we just talked at length, probably for about at least over an hour, about the status of substitute teachers and the shortage of them in the state of Wisconsin and the region. And so it's not just a Mayville thing, it's a regional deal. So
National.
There's a shortage, period. So it's like, what can we do about that? So we are looking at some options, and just trying to work on getting our system in place. And stay tuned for our solutions. So right now, we're at a talking, brainstorming status, but we're looking at possibly even a contracted service that might be able to support us. It's called Teachers on Call. You could Google it actually and see that it's a business format where subs aren't our employees, so there would just literally be I don't think it would change how teachers, the sub-teachers are found necessarily that much for us. It would just be the whole payroll who they're working for. So trying to figure out how to get a larger pool. That's a number one question. How do we get more? And with getting more, just because you have a larger pool doesn't mean they're settling in your buildings. So get a larger pool and actually have them in the buildings is what we discussed. So but that is definitely a challenge for us, and it's going to impact how much we plan on our own pull-out thing. So like a group of teachers collaborating, if there's no subs, we're not really going to want to pull them out of a classroom to do that if we don't have the coverage. So that we do very timely throughout the school year, and we may have to hold off on some of that if we don't have the subs. So, and this conversation we're having now, typically we have late in spring, and not already at the beginning of school year. That's the concern that we have.
I did an article a few months ago because I talked to a guy who said his district had great success with some things they tried for recruiting subs. So if you want, I can send you
For sure.
a link to that.
Yeah, so we kind of did some brainstorming of options today. We already made a decision that for our professional positions that do not require a substitute teacher license, that we would still pay them at the teacher rate. So if I have a sub license to sub for a teacher, I cover a para, there's a wage discrepancy there. We just said, hey, just pay them their regular rate. We want them to sub for us, period. We have vacancies, let's get this stuff covered. So we made a change there, and we're definitely looking at market analysis. What, are we paying enough? And overall, I think we are comparable in the information that we found up to this point, but we may have to make some changes. We had an in-service on Monday of last week. The feedback that we received from that is very positive. So we are continuing to bring home our character dares and our kindness challenge that we have with staff, and the feedback has been positive about that, but we're still trying to grow it and to share the light of kindness in the district. After that, we talked a little bit about reassessment practices and how that fits into standards-based grading. And that was just the tip of the iceberg conversation. Our goal is to have district-wide reassessment philosophy shared with you as Board of Education by the end of the school year. We believe we have that wrapped up, but we want to have like department guidelines put together on what does it mean to do reassessment, to give somebody another opportunity to prove that they know it, whatever that assessment is all about. So stay tuned, that'll come in the spring. And then our big focus is on vertical team time. So the feedback we received last year was that our teams that were trying to create a system alignment did not have enough time together to do it. So we created this calendar, very intentional, to help give them that time. So we provided that as well as time to work on their SLOs, it's the student learning outcomes, or objectives for the school year. Everybody needs to have an SLO, the teacher does, the building does, the administrators do. And then those are also part of a professional practice goal. This is all part of the evaluation system that we have. It's called Frontline, or My Learning Plan, Teacher Effectiveness. There's many different acronyms that we use, but it's all good stuff. So we gave them time to work on that, and time to work on their teams. And math, and more math is the other part of it too. Time to collaborate and just work as a system on our math adoption that we have. So overall, feedback was good. Very productive day. I'll leave my report with that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Scott
has a, I divide in pictures again. It's so much easier if I can just show you exactly.
As long as they're in color.
They are, don't worry. So we've talked a lot about the math adoption, and this is one of the unique things that I found coming out of the first grade about a week ago. I'm walking through during math time, and they're building quilts. And it was interesting. They were using starfish, and then they were using like a quilt pattern. And the premise about all of this was different ways that the kids could interact with the number 5. So they were able to find all kinds of patterns that they could see with number 5. So each child built a starfish, and they each built a quilt square, and then they figured out how to organize them so that they could create a pattern of starfish and quilt squares to create this 5 by, I think it's a 5 by 5 quilt. And then every child had a chance to talk about what they noticed about this and how they're thinking about math and how they could find different groups of 5. Very interesting to watch. And again, it gives that number something, it's real to them. It's not just a symbol, but they got to really interact with the numbers. So a little bit from Kirsten Pilsner's class and a little bit from Mrs. Seiler's class, and how they were using these amazing Sea Star quilts. From ELA, just a little bit from each one of the classrooms, you can see kinder friends in that bottom right-hand corner are learning to share read. So there's partner reading, they're side by side, elbow to elbow, knee to knee, book in the middle. They're learning how to be able to share their reading. You got another group of kinders in the bottom who are practicing the writing of their letters under the guidance of Mrs. Hurst. The first graders in the upper kind of left corner, they're doing a writing celebration. So they had published their first books of the year. So they actually had Mrs. Seiler's class and Mrs. Beck's class came together, and they were reading their published stories to one another and had a writing celebration. And then Mrs. Hulsma in that top picture doing a read aloud with her kids about being bucket fillers. So again, sharing the message of Parkview along with demonstrating the read aloud process.
What room is this one?
That's Andrew's nurse's room. It looks like they're in a bathroom, right? Yeah, no, they're not. That's a corner. That's the back corner of the room. They are not in the bathroom.
Well, reading is everywhere.
You can read where you want to read back. Just a few pictures from 4K. If you remember, we've got our own 4K classroom this year. So I snapped a few pictures of Mrs. Spittle there carving up pumpkins, and they were digging up pumpkin guts. I'm making jack-o'-lanterns in the class, and you see the snow from last week left the jack-o'-lanterns a little frosty. And then one from the visit to the fire department with some of our maybe potential future firefighters of Mayville there looking through a heat camera. Just a couple pictures from our assemblies. So our Parkview assemblies happen once a month. We've had 2 big ones so far. The kids have to get the chance to play some minute to win it game. So you can see one game where they had to keep feathers in the air by blowing them and keeping them up in the air. And then last week was 5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate, so they've got a popsicle stick in their mouth, and they had to stack 5 gummy pumpkins on that stick. I thought that one was going to be really easy. It was probably one of the hardest ones they've had to do, because every time they went to get a new pumpkin, they would bend down and get it apart. There's a dance scene right there. I couldn't put the video in, but this whole school, I think, knows Old Town Road. And that is the Kids Bop version of Old Town Road. It was like a chorus inside of the gym that day. And then you can see Jackie Middlestead up in that upper left-hand corner giving out one of her upstander shirts. Monthly we give out, and we have adults listening for kids who are being upstanders. So going beyond just seeing if something not good happening and then being a bystander, but taking the next step and using their voice and their power to tell kids to please stop what they're doing. And those kids who are identified get an upstander shirt and get recognized for being an upstander within the school. We've got the book fair this week. It is a snow theme, so I apologize. I think that may have been what caused the snow last week. But teachers can put in donation slips. So I put the Teachers in All Hats and Scarves on the donation wish list board, and then the book fair is set up and ready to go. It was open today for an hour and a half, and then tomorrow during conferences, and Wednesday is VIP day. So we'll have lots of people through the book fair.
Teachers wearing winter hats.
I put hats and scarves on them, yes.
Nice.
And then Merry Halloween last week.
Right?
That was kindergarten at recess last week on Halloween Day. So that's Parkview and some snapshots.
Thank you.
Thanks, Becky.
Mm-hmm.
Megan, you're going to give us a report.
Yes, so our wired fully charged tutoring program is off to a great start. It is a pilot year, but we are servicing 12 students in grades 3 through 6 at the Open Door. It's provided by the Open Door and then in partnership with the district. So a really nice opportunity for those learners. We had a successful fall PTA fest this last Friday at the middle school. Many families attended. This year, lots of parents were with their students, which was nice to see. And it was a positive event because we did not have to evacuate due to a gas leak like last year.
Didn't have to evacuate.
So we had a great day. Students in grades 3 through 8 will be treated on Wednesday to the Secret Garden musical. They're going to have an abbreviated version, so half of the school will go in the morning and the other half in the afternoon. So that's a great opportunity for our learners as well. We're honoring Veterans Day on Monday with an assembly for grades K through 5. 6-8 will walk up the hill to the high school, so thank you, Lee, for welcoming them to the high school. The theme this year is "What is a veteran to me?" So some students in 5th grade will share what veterans mean to them. There will be some musical numbers by kindergarten and 4th grade, and you're all welcome to join us on next Monday at 1 o'clock in the middle school gym. Finally, safety.
So that's, the K-5 is at 1 o'clock?
Yes. I think the 6-8 or 6-12 is at 10:45. Safety Patrol has an updated look this year. So usually it's for 5th and 6th graders. This year we're targeting the 5th grade. So approximately 48 5th graders signed up to help facilitate safe and fun play on the playground during lunch recess. So each week there are 4 different game stations that kids can choose from. And the Safety Patrol officers, their job is to teach the game, facilitate fair and appropriate play, as well as reinforce positive play practices. So everyone is learning the lingo of good job, nice try, and lots of high fives are being passed around for grades 3 through 5.
Only 45 of them?
48 out of 70 kids,
Yeah.
that's a lot. So at the end of the year, we take Safety Patrol on an overnight trip, so we're kind of reassessing what that's gonna look like.
That's great, maybe that's all.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Megan. Lee? As Megan mentioned, we'll be hosting Veterans Day program at 10:45 on Monday. As we did the last couple of years, I'm kind of a traditionalist as 11/11, you know, as it historically is meant to be. But what we do is after our program, we bring our veterans down and they eat lunch with our high school kids. And we purposely get them set up with kids to eat with high school kids and talk about what it is to be a veteran. And that turned out really well last year. In addition, the tutoring that's taking place at Open Door, we are expanding now to the public library on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And because the format has gone so well there, we are just going to duplicate it and do the same thing at the library. So Brad and one of our student tutors will be down at the library from 3:30 to 5:30 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So therefore, we'll get our kids Monday through Thursday opportunities for tutoring. And I worked with Alex down at the library on that, and we're looking forward to getting that going. Last week, the police department came through and conducted a safety check in the building, which they do, and I think they did probably the other 2 buildings as well. And it was Mr. Tellner and Chief Ketchum came through, and literally it's checking doors, making sure things are closed and locked, electrical rooms where chemicals stored. They run us through an interview, and then they'll produce a report and send it back to us. So our safety checks for the year are done in each building. John, it was funny you mentioned that in regard to teachers and the shortage. We actually met last week when we were talking about youth apprenticeships and school to work, and we've been kind of following the lead of some other school districts, is that we might be our own worst enemy or our best friend when it comes to that, is that we provide school to work opportunities for kids in the community. At the same time, we have kids going into education who during their senior year did nothing within the building to get used to teaching. So we're looking at possibly starting something where kids who are interested in going into education get their first experience in our district before they head off to college. Because right now we're probably averaging about 3 to 5 kids per graduating class that go into education. And the idea is if we can get them hooked on Mayville and what a great place it is to live and teach, they come back in 4 years and we can start that.
So the model that we had at Sheboygan Falls, our high school students went down to the elementary and worked there and just realized, and it's like, hey, we had that. We had probably about 6 to 8 students a year.
That would be awesome, and we would be able to do that. Last week, at the end of the week, we held our first quarter recognition, and it's been just wonderful using the auditorium. The tone, and I called Scott right away and let him know that the environment to host
a more formal event in the auditorium is so much nicer than the gym. So we covered our National Honor Society, we covered our fall athletes who were all conference, we also let